Hey there.
We are live.
We're alive now.
We are live now, Bill. Right now.
Mm.
What's going on this morning?
Well, I want to vent, but I know we're live, and yeah,
I think that's the point of the show.
it's one of the struggles. It's one of the struggles of somebody who has very little patience, as I do,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm surrounded by people that, for whatever reason, love talking to me. I don't like talking to people. That's why I only have fake internet friends.
I have
Oh.
real internet
I don't
friends.
like talking to people. I don't like answering the phone. I don't like when people call me whatsoever. It's I'm a very difficult person to deal with in a living situation. So the reason I was late was because it's very chaotic here this morning, as with most Saturday mornings, trying to get my daughter to go do kid stuff, and as my wife's heading out the door to go do that, and then we got the new school starting. Yeah, it's a whole big thing.
Got you.
But that's a deeper conversation for another time. So why are we here?
So that's what we're going to talk about. So, we've been having discussions about, there's tons of, technical podcasts out there and technical video chats. And, I've been in the industry, almost 20 years. And, there's tons of books on telling you how to fix anything under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
There's no books out there to basically tell you how to deal with trying to deal the balance of that is the work and home life that
The work and the home life and all the relationships is in trained in those. I think that's a word.
yeah. So and that's one thing. Like I've never been good at that. Like I'm you know I'm very analytical a lot of times, so like it's a lot of times I get into arguments because of that. So, prime example. So, we've all had that conversation with our significant other where, they want you to listen and not say anything and just listen. And, I got yelled at saying that I never listen because I always try to fix everything. And that started where she's like, you just want to fix everything all of a sudden. Like, yeah, I'm not looking for you to fix anything. I'm like, well, then why are you telling me that you
Yeah,
have
what's
this
the point of
problem?
telling me?
Well, and that's the thing. So like so this is something that I did some personal development on my own, because like after the argument ended where every party was calm, then I was, sitting there internalizing. I'm like, all right, this is kind of bothering me. And I was like, so I went to her and I was like, listen, I'm not trying to rehash anything. I'm not trying to, get your panties in a bunch. I just want you to understand something and kind of put this in perspective next time where you say, all I want you to do is listen. So for the past 20 years, nonstop, the only time people call me is if they have something for me to fix. So for you all of a sudden to be the one out of 1 million people that I've talked to tell me that I don't want you to fix this
I just want you to listen.
is kind of difficult for me.
Mhm.
Right.
And like you were talking earlier, there's all sorts of books and podcasts and everything else to help us learn how to fix things. But there's really a general lack of information that says anything about like how do you live with this industry? How do you balance the not knowing what time you're going to be home most days to like I might be home at 10 o'clock to your wife's like, do you have another girlfriend because you work all the time? Like, well, that's part of the industry. Like, no, you must have a secret family somewhere. Like, no, I work a lot. You look at my paycheck, but obviously that's not concrete proof. Like things like that. Like none of that. There's no manual for the HVAC life. There's manuals for how to fix things, but there's no manuals to like, hey, how do you balance your home life? I mean, all of
Which
us have
we're
been
sorry.
married for at least what 10, 15 years.
We just had our 16th year anniversary.
Oh yeah,
And
me and my wife too. Well,
I told,
16 and a half.
my wife knows that I'm not, I wouldn't cheat on her, but like more importantly that, like I straight up told her, like, if I ever start shaving my balls on the regular, then, something's probably up. But, if you
Mm-hmm.
get a dinner date on Friday night and and I got the nest coming out my belly button, like, you know, and I'm starting to trim with the hedge clippers and the weed whacker, you know, something's going down. You know what I mean?
I
Or
mean,
at least my expectations are.
I don't have the fortitude within me to even entertain another person, let alone trying to entertain another relationship.
So
Like even talking to you guys today is like pushing my limits on the amount of people that I allow myself to talk to in a week.
so I'm really dumb when it comes to social skills a lot of times.
Mhm.
And I don't understand certain things. So I was at a bar down in Houston, and and you guys probably seen it when we were doing the HVAC symposium. Like I have a hard time dealing when there's a bunch of little groups all like together, where like I'm hearing a whole bunch of chit chat here and a whole bunch of chit chat here and a whole bunch of chit chat
Yeah.
here, and I'm
Audio
just like,
overload.
yeah, and I'm like, I'll, you know, I'm not trying to be rude, guys, but I need to just get the F out of Dodge and just I'll be back. You know what I mean? So so I do the same thing when I'm at a bar. Like I was waiting for someone to go out to eat, you know, and I got my headphones in and I'm watching. I think it was women's volleyball, which is extremely entertaining to watch, especially if you don't have to, you know, listen to anybody. You know, you're just basically watching volleyballs, and so I'm watching it, and this girl who's on the side of me and is obviously, you know, she's been there for a bit. She's been drinking, and um she starts talking to me, and she sees my shirt. I happen to have a podcast shirt on, and we start talking about podcasts. And she's like, "Really?" I was like, "Oh." She's like, "Can you put it in my phone for me so I can listen to it?" Sure. So she gives me her phone. I put in Advanced Refrigeration Podcast, and I was like, "Here." I was like, you know, just and I appreciate you even trying to give it a listen. I mean, like, you know, I wouldn't think that'd be interesting to you at all, you know? And she's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, also do me a favor, and put your number in there so then I can call you to tell you how the podcast was. I was like, oh, like internally, I'm like, oh, this sounds like a great idea. I'm gonna get some true blue feedback.
100% is a bad idea to even look at that chick when she's talking to you.
No, I wasn't. I might have been doing the eyes roll in the back of the head or something.
Yeah, you are kind of dumb in social situations.
Dude,
Then.
I am yeah, seriously. So like, and then
Yeah, here's my number. Yeah.
So as soon as I put the phone number in, her immediate response after that, she's like, yeah, and after that we can go get a drink. And all of a sudden the monkey with the symbol starts going like this. Mathematical equations start going off in my brain, and I'm like, oh fuck.
Am I cheating?
Well, that's the thing. And so like my wife's phone number and my phone number are almost exactly the same except for one digit at the end. And I'm like, oh my God. And like not even thinking, I'm like, did I just give her my wife's phone number?
That would have been awesome.
And well, and then I have to explain that I'm like a social retard, and basically like I gave her number because she wanted
and see, the thing is, you can explain that one time to your wife, and she will never believe you, though.
Right?
She's not going to believe. Like that's just an excuse.
Well, hold on. Well, I told you about the Vegas thing, so like this isn't the first time that I've done something.
That's right.
Stupid. And I never talked about this on a podcast. So when we were all in Vegas, when I never did AHR, when we were at AHR, I have a bad back. I have some herniated discs that I got from shoveling snow. So once again, Brett's, retard modes goes, in full bore, and I'm in Vegas, forgetting that, prostitution is legal here, right? And so I was like, my back is hurting me. And I didn't even think about, oh yeah, there's probably a spa inside the hotel. I wasn't even thinking that, because I've done this in the past where like I'll go get a massage, have the lady come, she'll come to my room, I'll get the massage, she'll go and we'll go on our merry way. And so I ordered the massage, and basically the lady gets there, and I didn't put like the fact that she was wearing barely any clothes as a blinking red flag. Well, it's hot in Vegas. In my brain, I'm thinking logically. I'm like, it's just hot, maybe that's it. No, because then I asked, I was like, they said it was $150. And I know everything is more in Vegas. Like I come to grips, I got a shitty tattoo for like $350. And so, I'm like, so how much is it? Because I don't want to under tip you and like feel like an asshole. She's like, well, usually, it's first $150. I'm thinking, okay, that's for the massage. I said, and then how much for the tip? So I know, where I could be generous and insulting. She's like, it's $2K an hour. And once again, the monkey starts getting out symbols again. Bang, bang, bang. It's like, I just ordered a whore.
See, I don't think you
Mhm.
should be hanging out with yourself. You should have people around you. If we were walking on the
Yeah.
street together in Vegas, I'd be like, "Hey, Brett, stop talking to the hookers."
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely need I don't know, somebody to help you navigate the social aspect of the world.
Well, and then I told my wife about both these things. You know what I mean? Like, and she like she didn't get mad at all. She thought it was as funny, like thought it was as funny as what other people think it's funny. Now,
100%. Nobody in my life would think that's funny.
Yeah, you gotta think. You gotta stop for a second and think. Like, there's a chick at the bar, has nothing to do with HVAC
And
at
that
all.
was my first thought. Is like, what does she even care about
And like you
refrigeration
talk
for?
about things that make my eyes roll in the back of my head, you know, that it like makes my brain hurt. And there's like a random girl at a bar is not
Yeah, let alone some Kmart version of a Kardashian at the bar asking you about like, hey, well, you got a podcast? Oh, that's nice. You should
but
put it in my phone.
but anyway, I'm sorry when we just went off of tangents. But the real reason why we wanted to start something like this was because it's hard enough, like learning all the stuff that you need to know in order to be a good technician, and that's hard enough. So, I never really had, if you start talking about like home life, or problems at home with some of your buddies, fag, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, 100%.
yeah, and like, so like
I'm a man. I don't talk about my feelings or my home life or how broken my life is.
I drink till I can't feel feelings anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Or I eat all my pain away like Adam. That's another thing.
You want a licorice?
You fucking bastard. You
that's-
got those things right now, first thing in the morning?
No, they're just sitting there from last.
Holy shit.
so, but so that's the reason why we started this is the divorce rate for this trade is insanely high. I don't know exactly what it is, but how many times you talk to an old guy, he's like, yeah, I'm on my third round of alimony.
And
You know what
I
I
think
mean?
at the very least, like it'll help me get some of this stuff out. Just to at least talk about it in a sort of support group like this. I think that'll be healthy for me and for you guys as well. But like you said, there's just a lot of this stuff just never gets addressed, and it just goes, especially guys like us, where we're either problem solvers and we try to solve the problem logistically, like Brett was explaining earlier, and then we don't solve it, so we just end up like drinking our pain away, eating our pain away, or just suffering in silence until one day we just off ourselves or we die early of a heart attack. That's no way to live. We got kids that depend on us. You could potentially be a great husband to your wife if you can figure out why she's nagging at you and bitching so much.
Well, once we figure that out, I'll let you know. So
I mean, you stop giving your number out to whores and bars. You
no, but she thought it was funny. So that wasn't even that. Because
that's crazy that your wife thinks that's funny.
Well,
but then there's
she
other
knows
stuff.
how dumb I am. Like, she knows how dumb I am. Like, so when we first started dating, she was mad at me. We were out watching. We went to a concert, and this girl, I was just being like legitimately nice, and I thought she was being legitimately nice. And like, I honestly don't. In those instances, the only time I know that she's legitimately hitting on me if I'm getting the 3,000. You know what I mean? That's the only time I know that, like, I think she might be into me.
Hey, wait a minute. Is your hand on my junk? You
Right?
might be hitting on me. This isn't where the podcast button is.
But like I said, so like, that's the reason why, we talked about it more and more. Cause like, I mean, we, usually like, we're on a group chat and we're usually bullshitting about stuff. What's going on with
usually it like goes down this avenue of like, we're just talking about family life and like how stressful it is. And like, man, I just put in 12 hours and I come home and the wife wants to babble on. And then, you say something that, in the spur of the moment, you take the stresses home with you and you piss her off and then your whole night's ruined. And it's just like a snowball. At least in my life, that's what it is and has been.
I early on, when the kids were young, I just like worked a ton of hours, ridiculous amount of hours. And like after getting home from working, like my wife was sick of having the kids and watching them all day. So like she would like throw the kids at me and like, I need you to do this, this, this before I even like put my keys down. And I would just, what the fuck? What I mean?
I'm okay with that because like so I was raised by a single mom. So like, I understand like how, rough, like it can be like just, having, you know, like my son, if he had his choice, like he'd go back in utero. Like, you know, I could be right next to him and it won't matter. My wife will be in like 5 rooms over. And then all of a sudden, you know, he's like, Mom, can I have a sandwich? Dad's right fucking there. You know,
man, stuff like that pisses me off.
so we
Kids
ended
are
up.
so dumb.
So my wife has a problem sometimes where like she'll piss people off. And so because she takes things as an insult. So, you know, if
Mm.
like, so one time, so I did exactly that. So I got home from work. I worked like 100 hours straight, or not 100 hours straight. I worked 100 hours that week. And basically, you know, she was fucking obviously stressed. I could see it in her face. I was like, dude, just go without the kids. You know, I got them. I'll make dinner. I got you covered. Just go. And someone had made a comment. It's like, you know, where the hell's Brett? I was like, well, he's back at home with the kids, you know. And the guy said the normal guy thing where he's like, well, Brett works like 100 and some hours a week. Like, shouldn't you be watching the kids? Isn't that your job?
Mhm.
Oh, that went over like a fart in church.
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't talk to them anymore.
Yeah, of course not. Of course not. They sound like horrible people, and you should never talk to them ever again.
Yeah. So, like, I differ in that aspect where, like, you know,
I'm not saying like I didn't. It was something that like an adjustment to get used to. You know what I mean? Like it was difficult working a lot of hours, and I don't never worked 100 hours in a week, but it is difficult to come home and not even be able to hang up your keys, and then you know, you need to do this,
yeah.
this, and you're like, give me 5 minutes to decompress. You know, 5 minutes is all I'm asking for.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, but like I said, this is the reason why we started it, just to have like a sounding board, you know, because like even growing up, like, you know, I told you guys that I moved out of my house when I was stupid young. I was 16, and you know, even then, like I was trying to figure out why my mom wanted to charge me $300 a month rent when I'm 16, and I start talking to other guys. I'm like, hey, do you have to pay rent? And they're like, no, not until like I graduate college, and
Mhm. Not till I'm an adult.
yeah, not until like I'm actually an adult. And like someone's like, huh, so that's the way it's actually, because I don't have any brothers or sisters. So I mean, so you know, I talk to other people to try to figure out social issues that I'm having, you know, at home or in my personal life or whatever, to try to figure out, you know, which way's on, you know, which way's up, right?
Well, I think we can help you with that.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
more.
I think like moving forward with this project, I
Mhm.
think every week we should have like sort of a theme. You know how like in your podcast, for example, the Advanced Refrigeration podcast, like you'll have a specific theme. Like this week it's oil pressure systems, and then next week it's you know, booster pumps or whatever it is. You know, but we have a specific theme. So I think that would help us navigate this Grand Canyon of a subject. You know what I'm saying?
She says that she's that she's fine, but I don't think she is.
What's that? Who says she's-
I'm just thinking about like titles of podcasts.
Oh yeah.
She says she's
Oh,
fine, but I don't think
that's-
she
yeah,
is.
classic, 100% classic.
She says she's
yeah.
not mad.
Yeah, I'm not mad.
Why is the gas tank always empty?
Oh yeah, I got that last week.
I got that.
Wait, you got that? I give that every time I get in the car. Every time.
No. See, because I only use it like once in a while, and when I do use it, it's usually like I have to use it for like the whole day, or it's like towards the end of the day. I'm running around, and it's already a busy day, and I just forget to, you know, fill the tank up. But when I do remember, I fill it all the way up, even if I'm not going to use it for another 2 weeks. I
Right.
fill it all the way up, kind of cover my bases. Usually, it's still not good enough.
So East Coast asked who wears the pants in my wife's. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, see, I have pants. It's just I keep them locked away until the day I can wear them. Finally,
So I have a question, because I don't really have very many friends. Do you guys do a whole bunch of house chores at the house? So like I usually cook at least 3 times a week. I do all the laundry in the house.
oh yeah, I don't do that much.
Yeah, and
See,
then I do, you know, I do the.
I think this is a good roundabout. We should go through and kind of we should kind of go through a round table here, and each of us give our own like little I don't know what you call it, little
Summary of the week.
broad, no, just like a broad view into our lives. So this way we have it on record of like, hey, this is kind of where I'm at, and then this is where you're at. Like, so Brett, you live with your wife, and does your wife work full time, part time, no time?
No, she doesn't like a full like. I mean, she works. She used to work like odd things. Like she was a fitness coach for a while. But like going like where she actually had to go somewhere 9 to 5. She hasn't had one of those in like 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah, because
So
she got fired when my daughter was born, like shortly thereafter, because she wasn't performing. But I mean, it was basically because she was tired. I mean, she wasn't going to work. She was in sales. She actually sold Yellow Page advertisements. So she'd drive
yeah.
all over in the area and just be
Yeah.
like,
horrible.
That was a dead end job anyway.
no, dude, she was making good. Like, she was making more money than I was.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like in hindsight, looking forward into the
Well,
future.
okay. Now with the internet and stuff, yes, you're absolutely right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like going to school to be on the radio now. That's
I'm going to
dead end.
specialize in the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Yeah, I'm gonna go be a broadcast superstar.
Yeah.
So like you're the breadwinner of the house, of course, and your wife helps out with the kids.
Yep.
And so like in situations like this, like, well, real quick, my background is I live with my wife, of course. We have one kid, and my wife works part-time. Like the reason I was late was, she was getting ready for work before the show here. And but she works part-time. So for the most part, I'm at work a lot and she's at home 2-3 days of the week. But like I will say, at least in my situation, my wife is a rock star. Like she does a lot of stuff, and she's not even here to listen to this. Like she's not standing right over there watching me or nothing.
It's going to be admissible in court when finally she finds this, and she's like, "You've been saying all this to who?"
Yeah. You tell people about our personal lives. See, that's why it's a good thing nobody's watching this. But so she's a rock star. Like she does a lot around the house. She cooks, she cleans, does dishes and laundry, and I know about this because she reminds me on the daily about it, and sometimes at night she'll remind me again about it, and then before I go to work the next day she'll remind me about all the stuff that she does. But it really helps me out because I work 60-70 hours a week. So even though I do a lot of chores, it's nowhere near like if she just left tomorrow, like I would just be like, how am I going to get all this crap done, dude? So my situation,
although
really helpful.
She handles like what the family needs to be handled. You know what I mean? Like if it's one person, there'll be a lot less to do. You know what I mean? So like your wife's taking care of the whole household. If it was just your house wouldn't be trashed all the time. You wouldn't have 400 fucking dishes sitting in the sink, right?
That's true. That's true. And, that reminds me of another point is, does your significant other ever do this where you're, like, I don't know, you say like, oh, well, when's this appointment? And then they're like, wait, you don't remember? I'm like, no, I don't remember. And like, oh, well, see, it's a good thing I'm here to tell you. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, wait a minute. Like there's 9,000 other things that I keep track of: finances, mortgages, insurance papers, like 900 million other things that I keep track of that you have no clue even exist.
Right.
And I don't even, reference those. Because if you do, then, obviously you're the bad guy.
So one of the things I had to stop doing, and once again, like I do a lot of internalization when I do things and try to figure out why I do things. And so she got mad because she thought that I was just.
And real quick, let me cut you off. So that ability that you have to internalize and like look back on how you act around other people, like a lot of people don't have that.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. A lot of people are incapable of reflecting on their own actions and be like, what could have I done different?
Which I'm just getting. I've not just, but I'm at the point where I'm realizing, and I could do that now. Like if you asked me 2 or 3 years ago, that wasn't me.
So she got mad at me because she thought that I was just throwing it up in her face that, oh, by the way, I did the laundry. By the way, I did the dishes. Oh, I fixed that fucking leak that you told me about in the back of the house. And she like was like, you don't have to tell me every single time you do something. I know that you're doing it. I'm like, okay. And I was like kind of offended. I was like, well, why is she getting so angry? Like, And then I was
Yeah, 'cause
trying
I
to figure out.
assume like you were just trying to tell her like, hey, this is done, so you don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
and
that's what I would say. I would have done the same thing.
so the other thing is too, so like, I had a real fucked up family life growing up. So like, my parents were always dealing with extracurricular substances. So like, I never got any affirmation from home. So even now as an adult, I I was wondering why, like, because people mistake me as, me being a kiss ass. Like, if I'm trying to do something for the betterment of the company, oh, he's just kissing ass. I had a lot of that when I was up in Connecticut, and they're like, oh, he's just kissing ass. And I thought about it for a while. I was like, no, I was like, I never had affirmation from my family. So any other places that I can get affirmation, I overdo it. To get that affirmation to be like, yeah, you are actually doing a good job. You know what I mean? And that's maybe occasionally what maybe deep down inside, like what I was looking for just by telling my wife that, hey, I did this. Hey, I did this. Just kind of tell me that you noticed it and that you appreciate it. You know what I mean? Tell me you're
Mhm.
appreciative. That's all I'm really looking for. You know what I mean?
But I think that like I think, all the men out there like to be appreciated, like to here, thank you, you're doing a good job, I appreciate it, whatever else. But you got to be careful how you go about that because you don't want to try to keep score. Because like
Mhm.
when you have conversations like what you were saying, I did this, I did this. Sometimes it could come across like you're keeping score, you know.
And
And
that's usually how it's perceived with my wife. You win, you did more. I was like, no, it's just I'm just letting you know in case you didn't realize and in case you didn't notice. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like in case she was thinking about all the stuff she had to do today, like,
Yeah,
hey, laundry's done. You can check that off the list. You can relax a little bit, just to let you know.
that's it.
Yeah, I'm not looking for gratification, or I'm not looking for a trophy or anything. Just let you
I
know.
mean, maybe a small monument. I mean, like no
Hmm.
bigger than a shoebox. You know what I mean? But that's it.
Martini when I walk in the door and a sandwich.
I
That's all I
mean,
want.
so you guys out there, I mean, is what we're saying ringing true at all with you guys? Like, are you guys dealing with the same shit? Like, I want to know because, like, I just no one really talks about this stuff. So like I have no as the Big Lebowski you would say, you have no frame of reference here, Donnie. You're like a child that wanders in the middle of a movie and wants to know what's going on in the middle of a movie. Like I just want a frame of reference. I want to know what other people are dealing with, if they're dealing with the same shit, or if I'm in my own little movie of I Am Legend where no, that just happens to you, asshole.
No, I would venture to say at least 80 to even I would say even upwards of maybe 90% of the guys in this trade deal with the very similar issues. Like then you have your odd guys out like TY Banana Man or Chris from HVACR videos who like they're just like super happy and like everything seems to go well for them. And like I've told Chris before, like Chris isn't perfect, but his wife is like so chilled out and so like just forgiving that it makes it work for them. So he can kind of like do his things, which I would venture to say other women in that same position would be like, "Ah, you're editing videos again. You've done that 100 times this week. Why don't you go spend some time with us? Like things like that." And
probably
Ty, I'm not real sure about his personal life, but like that dude's just super happy. So
how did they get to that point though? But Chris is always happy, like no matter what, around his wife or not. When we met him
yeah,
in Florida, he walks up and he's got the biggest smile on his face, and he's like walking around just smiling. I'm like, what the hell is this? What's wrong with this guy?
and it throws you off. Like for me, I've always been bitter and monotone my entire life, and that's all I know. That's all I know. And to meet somebody like Chris, you're like, oh, dude, dial it back, man. The sun is too bright here. Just relax, you know? But I think part of that, like, you can change your entire mindset. You can change your whole mindset with a little bit of self talk. And I'm not talking like, you get in front of a mirror and be like, yeah, Stuart, you can do great. You're a good person. Everybody likes you. Nothing like that. I'm talking about like when you find yourself, when you're able to recognize these patterns, like when I come home after work and I'm stressed out and then I've been on the phone all day long talking about the dumbest shit you can imagine, and I'm driving for hours upon hours, and I've just had like information overload from podcasts, from dumb people calling me, and I get home and like I don't have any decompression time. So I walk in the door and immediately I'm bombarded with whether it's problems, things we need around the house, things that's happening at school, various other life things are in the way, and I'm like, oh, just shut up for a minute. You know, in those moments, I tend to fall into a pattern of um, being very sarcastic and rude to my family, which doesn't end well ever, turns out. You know, labels me like, oh, you know, and then I'm thinking like, oh man, I don't know why my family's so excited when I come home, because I'm usually just a dick when I come home. And so, getting back to what I was trying to say here before I get off some other sort of tangent,
Yeah.
um, I fall into these patterns where my immediate reactions or my immediate pattern of life is to like get frustrated and react and be mad and rude at everybody. But now that I'm starting to recognize that, I can internalize it and use a little bit of self-talk to break that pattern. And I can just say like, you know what you're doing, you know, you're getting pissed off. It's not their fault you had a shitty day, you know, there's things you can do to change your state of mind is what I'm getting at.
And which one of those books got you there, Bill?
Right there. Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins. It's very, very good. It's I don't know, like 300 pages of changing your mindset, your state of mind.
I can't deal with Tony Robbins.
Well, I don't like listening to him. I like reading his books. I don't like his voice.
I think like I don't deal with anything that has like that ends up like sounding a little culty. You know, like in his books sometimes can sound extremely culty. Like I said, you know, when I was, you know, watching you guys on the Overtime show last night, you know, which is a guy that you should look into is Jordan Peterson. And he has, you know, one that's you know, 12 rules for your life, is one of his books.
Is that guy that killed his wife?
No,
It's Chris Benoit.
no, this guy got in trouble for just things that he said about being misogynistic, but he's really not. It's funny, like, so I never thought like in a million years I would dig like Ben Shapiro, because like I'm like when
that name.
so when it comes to politics, like I'm really middle of the road, and I really can't stand people that are all the way at the right, all the way at the left, like you know, like but anyway, so like I never thought I'd listen to him, but then like the more I listened, I would like he's very logical in his arguments, which I was like that it really rung true for me. And like Jordan Peterson is another one where, you know, I never thought I would enjoy listening to him, and like I could listen, like I've been trying to listen to this book for a while, and usually what I'll do is I'll put it on right before I go to bed, and you know I'll listen to him talk, and yeah, I might need to go back the other day and be like, oh fuck, I forget where I was at because I passed out. But it's just there's a lot of good theory and very logical thinking, so it's kind of calming the fact that, you know, you have another individual that kind of thinks like me. You know what I mean? Like it's a little comforting, if that makes any sense.
Well, and see, I would say to that point, as long as you find something that works for you, something that helps you grow, something that's, you know, some sort of personal development that works for you. Like for me, Tony Robbins, love it. Doesn't sound culty to me. I mean, it's great book, beautiful state of mind. Like the thing is like I do see how you can get that. Like it's a little bit like woo new age sort of like hippie stuff. But as far as the book goes, like I've never been to a seminar or anything like that, but I've seen the seminars. Those are kind of odd when you have that many people doing weird things like that. But this book, this standalone book by itself, love it. It's a fantastic book. And there's a couple other books that I've read too that I can't reference off the top of my head. One is like, this other book called Think and Grow Rich, right? That book, you can sum that book up in like one phrase, is if you think about something, it'll essentially happen. If you think about it all the time, you focus on it, you materialize it, you visualize it in your mind, like it can happen for you. And it's not really, you know, the book is geared towards like finances and things, you know, Think and Grow Rich, of course. But the overall theme of that book is like, let's say you got something to accomplish. Like athletes do this all the time. Like they'll visualize a win, they'll visualize an accomplishment. And they do this all the time. It's just like us people way down here in the bottom never think about things in this light. Like, hey, you know, I got these, even if it's a little goal, like, hey, I want to get NATE certified. Visualize it. you know, even though it's useless and nobody's ever going to give you any extra money for it. You know, visualize it. You want to have a happy marriage? You know, visualize it. Once you start visualizing it, I feel like you will be more open to new ideas, experiences. You can internalize a little bit. You can maybe take on advice you might not have taken on before because you were closed off to the idea of it.
Adam, is that how you are? Like, are you fairly closed off where you don't take criticism, or like, are you a guy's guy where like, I'm not talking about those feelings thing. I'm
Be a
just
man.
Yeah, but you know, I think I was mentioning this to you yesterday or the other day. My mom and dad got divorced when I was, I believe, going into 3rd grade. So my mom was working. She would get home at 6:30 every day, and I was at my grandpa's house, and he was a World War II vet, and he was old and cranky and as tough as nails, you know. So like if you would cry about something, fall down or whatever else, he'd be like, "What are you, a girl?" You know? And having that like mindset, like I never wanted to discuss anything. And then I kind of started when my kids were young and they would cry. I'm like, "What are you crying like a girl?" And my wife does not like that shit at all.
You're gonna give him a freaking complex.
Be a man.
Be a man. Yeah, so I had to stop that, and I don't know. But, well, it's probably it was the 80s, and it was generally a not very PC time, I don't think.
I was talking about that the other week. It was the last week, where, you know, if you were a parent doing things that you used to do in the 80s, as far as, you know, doing the same shit that our parents did, or at least mine. Like, so I was born in 82, and you know, you know, we used to just leave the house on summertime as soon as the fucking sun would come up, and I'd get home about when the sun would go down, when the street lights would start fucking rolling on. And if you do that shit now, like, CPS is gonna be at your fucking doorstep. Like, prime example, dude. I had CPS, so I live in a really nice neighborhood, but like, I mean, just I really don't have a lot of things in common with the people I live around, and you know, a lot of times I looked fucking tired. Well, maybe because I was working a shit ton, and some of these people have never had to do that before. And my daughter, I think she was 11 at the time, or maybe 10, and she's throwing a shit fit. It's late at night. We were out hanging out with neighbors, and she's like, "I don't want to go. I want to stay here." I'm like, "No, we're going home. I'm staying here. I don't think you heard me. Let me make sure you did fully understand me. We're fucking going home, and that's what we're doing." "I don't want to go." So I give her a Gibbs slap, where I basically just upside the back of the head.
Nope,
We're going home.
can't do that.
That's what the CPS lady said the next day.
Yep.
I couldn't believe it. Like, I was like, "Are you like?" I was more taken aback at first, and I was like, "Are you fucking serious? You have nothing else better to do, and now you're gonna parent other people's situations?" Like,
Yeah.
but that being said, like, you can't do that. Like, my mom was a single mom, and like, I learned how to cook using the microwave when I was like 10. Like, she'd put seconds on the stuff that she'd cook. You know, basically of how long. Okay, mac and cheese, 45 seconds in the microwave. Okay, you know, and that's what I'd cook, because she had, you know, around Christmas time, my mom had 3 fucking jobs. You know, she's gonna have to leave me alone sometime or have a babysitter.
Yep.
So I'm sorry, I went off that CPS tangent. I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I was just reading some of the comments here. We got some people fired up, it seems like.
Really? Well, there was one guy that kept saying that we need to train our wives, and I was like, that's not really a cool thing to say to women in general, and it's
Although
also.
I do say that quite a bit though myself.
Do you really?
To my wife, usually.
Are you being funny while saying it?
Well, I try to be, but I'm also kind of serious.
So,
You know.
so I do things like that, like, but like I inadvertently just piss her off, like the whole like, you know, the whole dishwasher's broke thing, and she's like,
Mhm.
"Well, what do you mean? We'll get a new one." I was like, Do you understand at this point we've been together how long? It's going to be expensive for a fucking divorce. You're such an asshole,
Yeah.
something like
Or
that.
like my wife will mention something like that. So I'll go over and I'll get my shoes and I'll get her shoes and I'll go down, I'll put them on the floor right in front of the sink and I'll like push them up to the sink. I'm like, look at how big my shoes are compared to yours. You see how far away from the sink I would have to stand? That is just not good for my back. And see how close you can stand with your little tiny girl feet?
See, it's the funny thing is, I think we all kind of have the same sense of humor.
Mhm.
I've had to stop making jokes like that, and I have for a long time. But yeah, so a lot of my sense of humor has left around the house.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just lost here. It's like it's just a black hole of just soul sucking
But that's when you have to
sarcasm.
have that conversation, like, like this. I used to be able to say shit like to my wife, and it would be funny. Like even if it was dirty, even like, and I think part of the thing, like once they become a mom, like some of that comedy button kind of just gets taken away. So the first time, I can't believe I'm going to tell a story. So the first time I met, so we met on a blind date. We met on Match.com because I had not like I was working all the time, so like there wasn't Tinder or in Joe's case Grinder. There wasn't those apps that you could use
Or the one like I invented, Manometer.
no, I never seen it.
Damn it.
So but like I would say shit that would be funny. So like she, the first date we went out, like we were talking about tattoos and like how I was like, oh, I never get a tattoo unless it really, really means something. And there has to be some meaning behind it. I'm not just gonna get like, a Chinese character. And I didn't see like the back of her neck. So she has family written on the back of her neck in Chinese. Okay, she's an Italian Catholic from New York. Not a lick of China. The closest Chinese that she's gotten is living in Flushing, New York. Like that's the only thing comparable that's Chinese in her family. You know what I mean? Or in around her area. And so she's like, well, I mean, I got it because it means family. I was like, I would understand that if it was an Italian. You know what I mean? You got a little German in you now, and like I would get that too. But like I just don't get the Chinese. She's like, I was like, how do you even know what that actually means? And I know this is a Seinfeld bit, but like, I mean, like legitimately, like, how do you know? Like, I have some Irish Gaelic on my arm because I'm Irish. I have some, German on my arm because I'm German. You know what I mean? Like, I know what those words are. I know what those words mean. And I was like, you have no fucking idea. And I started to get fired up about it. I was like, you have no fucking idea what that means on the back of your neck. For all you know, the guy could have been funny and was like, watch this. Let go of my ears. I know what I'm doing. And that's what's on the back of your neck, not family.
Or you just like, you just take one of those little swoops that's supposed to go this way, you swoop it the other way. The meaning's probably totally different.
Yeah, no, exactly. The Big Bang did a joke on it. She, where Sheldon's like, oh, it's, where Penny's saying it's something like this, something like this. And he's like, no, I'm pretty sure that's the Mandarin for soup.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure? Yes. And like,
Yeah.
I just wouldn't want that to happen. You know what I mean?
No, I'd rather get something real stupid in English written on me, which I have plenty of.
Like a toaster.
Mm-hmm. I got a toaster. I got some really, really horrible HVAC gauges, some manifold
I've
gauges.
never seen it.
Oh, they're not there.
I want to see that. So
They're
the really nerdy one I have. So I have my Carl von Lindy. The story behind that is he's a German-born engineer, and I'm German, and he made it possible for the Guinness Brewery Company to brew beer in the summertime. And I'm also Irish, so I thought that was really fitting and a really long explanation. But I also actually have one of the first compressors I ever rebuilt on my arm, and it basically looks like there's fucking fire coming out of the heads and stuff, and it's done really, really well. But now I'm kind of curious about your. Did they say you're like Richie on them too? Like you went the full 9? Your gauge.
Oh yeah. No,
It looks like a 5-year-old's room.
Yeah. The guy was on drugs when he did it. Yeah, it's real bad. But at the time, I was like, you know what? Whatever is what it is. Is what it is. Well, man, it's just about my time. I got to get out of here in a few minutes. But
Come up with a theme for next week.
Yeah, I put in our little private chat. So what do you think about this? So how about next week? Because I thought this was I think Jeremy Smith made a comment on one of Brett's posts down below that I saw, and essentially it was about setting boundaries with your employer to have a better quality of home life. I think that's a great thing to talk about, because I just recently figured out that that's even a thing. Like, you can actually set boundaries with your employer, mostly because now that I'm looking around the landscape, I'm like, oh yeah, it is hard to find good guys. I'm kind of good, so maybe I can throw my weight around a little bit. But like, you know what? I want to be home this day. I want to be home at a certain time on this day. You know, I don't need to be home whenever. But you know,
Just to hit on that, so it's funny you say that. So my boss, I was interviewing for my position when I first, moved out from Connecticut to Texas here, and so I had been talking with him for months. Like, so I knew like everything that I needed to know. And my wife had been married to me for a long time at this point, and 10 years or whatever before we moved out to Texas. And she basically was like, "Hey, I have some questions, for your future boss." I was like, and my boss apparently was at some picnic, and he tells this story all the time, and where he's talking about, all of a sudden Brett's wife wanted to talk to me. And he's like, I had no problem. Like, she's probably gonna ask about insurance, probably gonna ask about the on call. You know what I mean? Dude, Brienne had him on the phone for an hour and a half while he's at a freaking picnic, walking back and forth up his driveway, like making sure like everything that he said that the job was going to be. And like, so if he's on call, he can get out as long as he gives you a week's notice. Yes. Yes. And literally had like an hour or an hour and a half long conversation. It was basically an interview with my wife to make sure the
see,
job.
my wife would be like, "Well, whatever you want to do."
Well, it was a family decision, right? And that's how it should be treated. You know what I mean? If all this, if fairness between, your relationship needs to be fair, right? You need to make sure that everyone's on the same page. You can't just willy-nilly just make decisions on your own and be like, "Hey, I'm going to buy a new truck," and just roll out and just buy one. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, the job is a major thing, just like a truck is a major purchase. You know what I mean? So
I will say I bought my house that way.
yeah.
I'm the only one on the title because I just went and bought it. And then I was like, "Hey, I got us a house." And she's like, "What? Which house?" And I got on that one we looked at that you kind of liked. I just went and got it.
Yeah, we'll definitely touch on that next week.
Yeah,
But
I still get reminded about stuff like that though.
Are we doing it every other week? Or are we doing it? What's the plan right now?
I was originally thinking every other week because I was I didn't think anyone wanted to hear about feelings every freaking week. But
Well,
I mean,
I have a lot to get off my chest, so I say we shoot for every other week for now.
and so do I. But I, in the chat for any, wherever you're commenting, whether it be YouTube or Facebook, let us know what you think and what you guys would actually talk about, because like I want this. You don't. We're not.
It's got to be interactive.
Yeah, because you can't just hear about our petty bullshit all the time. Like, we want to know what the hell you're going through, and it's like, well, fuck, I'm not the only one. It just because sometimes you feel kind of alone, right? You feel alone because you're like, man, am I the only one dealing with this bullshit? And then you come to find out because you actually start talking about it. Fuck, they're going through the same bullshit too.
If we could save a marriage, or at least prevent a fight, or in some way, shape, or form prevent somebody's kids from growing up and seeing their parents fighting all the time, living in a toxic household, like that would be amazing. Like, I grew up in somewhat of a toxic household, and I know what it's like, and sucks. And it's one of the reasons I am on a mission to make myself a better person, stronger body, stronger mind, all that stuff. And I'm doing it because, I don't want my family to fall apart, for one. And also, I have children, and I don't want them to grow up in a toxic household and think like this is how it should be, right? When I get married, I want to find a partner who talks to their wife this way or whatever. Like, nah, maybe not.
For sure.
There's better options.
So, by the way,
heads will prevail.
We are right now. We're broadcasting from the Overtime BS, but that is because the new YouTube channel is on administration hold or some BS.
Yeah. I try to be proactive and do it beforehand, but went to go, I was like, yeah, I'm getting all prepared. I'm just gonna schedule everything. It's gonna be awesome. And then YouTube basically told me to go F myself. So I was like, hey, we're gonna have to do this for this time. So I apologize.
Yeah, thanks, Curtis.
Yeah, so we're gonna take this video and we're gonna repost it on the Cooler Heads Podcast YouTube channel, and then it's gonna be on its own podcast thingy too.
Yep, and it should be across all the various podcast platforms. So,
we're gonna, we will have, we will have Chris on here. If I can convince Kevin to start talking about feelings instead of just drinking, that's going to be really interesting. Actually,
like Kevin is the stereotypical like HVAC guy. Like, you're talking about feelings. I ain't gay. I ain't gonna talk about my feelings. That's gay. You're gay and stupid, and I hate you.
We could do a special one where we just get have a couple of drinks while we're broadcasting. So that would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Bill don't drink anymore.
No, I have some coffee though. Coffee and a special snack.
I like gummy bears. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for hanging out with us and listening to our bullshit, man.
Yeah. We'll see you soon.
All right, later, guys.
Yep.